marketeers.
Let me get really crude here for a second. Again, as a CFO as well as a past HR person, one of the things that I quickly recognized was the reality of how we deliver value. So we're attracting clients who value us and the staff who work for us. And I differentiate that from what I call the client from hell, who wants everything, but they don't value what's being delivered, and it eats up resources that otherwise could have been spent on growing with clients that value what's being articulated, and you don't settle. Am I on the right track?
You're on the right track, but I will let Marvy answer that question.
Oh, no, I hadn't gotten to Marvy yet. I just wanted you're presenting the concept.
Oh, no, you're on the right track, but right. I think some real life examples maybe.
So I can think of cases in which, as a senior executive, in which I recommended to my boss to not engage with a client because they were going to absorb or use more resources than we could possibly charge, and potentially they'd be litigious, which unfortunately I was right.
So what I call that is that there's a level of risk management that's involved, because you have to understand the risk of whoever you work with.
Yep.
But also there's governance that needs to be in place, right? So that governance basically gives you guardrails, governance, compliance as well, because you have your internal compliance, your rules that you put in place. But that governance gives you guardrails as to who you will and will not work with. And then there's also a financial component, because now you have a budget in place, or should have a budget in place, as to how you apply your budget toward acquiring or helping your clients, your customers, your donors. So, but I'll leave it at a high level there, and Marvy probably has some examples, not using names or anything, but some examples of how that works.
Well, I'll have a specific question for her in one moment, but I want to make one more point to what you're saying.
Okay.
And that's this: in this era in which we're having a difficult time holding on to employee retention, another strategy is clarity in communicating how employees are valued and what's accepted and not accepted, and how to go about managing it so that the employee understands that they're valued.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's another strong point. But
I agree with you. That's absolutely a strong point. And that goes really back to those fundamentals that I mentioned earlier, because whether you're hiring or whether you are setting objectives for your employees, the unique value proposition, the vision, the mission of the company, it all comes into play, because if everyone can be passionate about what the company is offering, what the company is about, what the organization is doing, if everyone can be passionate about that and understand their role, then it helps with that retention. Now, certainly there's a money component and all of that, salary, but it also helps when I can feel as though I belong and I am contributing to the company's goals.
Yep. And that is being valued. So
that's being valued.
And is being valued. So Marvy, for you mentioned this earlier, and so let's tie it back to nonprofit and your company specifically. donors want to know that their dollars are stretching far. So in the same respect, for a nonprofit, we're listening to Charles. That means you have to articulate and being able to demonstrate that even the kinds of clients that you're helping, you're bringing on clients that are going to make the most use of the donations that you've been able to get so you can continue to keep your donors excited. Is that right?
Absolutely. So our nonprofit, we don't receive, we are completely donor dependent. And one of our processes that Charles has helped me implement is the vetting process. We've had, although we want to help everyone, we just can't, because not everyone wants the help that we offer. We require our clients to want to work rather than depend on government assistance. We require them to be actively looking for employment. And if they don't have any resource, we provide them with recruiters that who volunteer for us, so to speak, and we refer them to recruiters. And then we say, okay, well, if they don't get in contact with you, then we need to go back to that client and ask them, you know, what are you doing to find employment? So I like the term Charles risk management, right? For us, we do come across entitlement. And when we address requirements for organizations, such as, you know, you must have transportation, you must have daycare, and we provide them resources to be able to obtain these requirements. We work with HMR, we work with social workers. So it is something that is impossible to obtain. Transportation might be a little bit more challenging, but we don't come across that too often. But employment, we have resources upon resources, and when we don't see them taking advantage of the resource, then we need to examine and say, you know, this is not something, this is not in our mission, because our mission is not just to hand out donations. It's more giving a hand up than a handout. And so in our vetting process, numerous questions, if they're agreeable to that, we assign a life coach, and the life coach will then do an assessment as to how motivated they are to move past where they are to the next step. If they're doing great, fine, we will continue to give them resources and help them financially if needs be. But if they're hell bent on just receiving freebies and just getting something for nothing, then we have to refer them to somewhere else, because we value our donors, we value their resources, and we don't want to be known as just an organization that we don't have a financial cushion as a nonprofit. We don't have emergency funds. And so we have to mitigate, we have to examine where each and every dollar going to. And it has to be something that we can measure. If we're just handing money here and there, that's not using our donors or our resources. So we have a good vetting process, and Charles has developed a vetting process, and it's crucial to how we serve our clients.
Thank you for the explanation. And I'm sure this in turn enables you to attract more donors who then in turn want to be a partner with you in what you're doing in the Fort Worth area.
That's our hope.
Yep, that's the goal here. Well, we're about running out of time. I'm going to turn it over to Charles. And Charles, is there one more message or you want to summarize up for us before we kind of close out this session today?
Yeah, I think everything we've talked about here is about sustainability. You mentioned this at the very beginning, and sustainability is highly important regardless of what the type of organization. Again, whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, virtual family office, you want to be everything you do should be sustainable. And, in the case of what Marvy was just talking about, if there are no guardrails and everyone is basically given a handout, then that doesn't use the donors' donated funds in the proper way, and would have the reverse effect. You start losing donors versus gaining donors, and therefore not sustainable. So you want to make sure everything you have in place creates an air of sustainability, and that then attracts more of the type of clientele that you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think the two of you have done a great job today in being able to just create this clarity of applicability on creating sustainable growth in organizations, regardless of their size or their structure. So I really want to thank you for doing that so well today. Charles, if people want to follow up with you between the now and the next time we're together, which again, we're looking at doing this live, is how do they do that? How do they get a hold of you?
I think the best way is actually to go to this other side here. The best way is actually contact me, through my website, and it has a link on there to schedule a meeting with me. That is the simplest thing to do at www.xelantt.com, and that's the simplest way. And so it gets you directly to me, and I can then, we can collaborate on, how we might be able to help.
And the type of customer that you're looking for, you have no size limitations, do you?
I don't necessarily have size limitations. We do look at some guardrails in terms of, so nonprofits we treat a little different, but in general we're looking at companies that are 25 employees or more, and that puts them within a certain revenue range generally. We do work with some companies that are smaller, so it just kind of depends on where they are from a revenue generation standpoint and if it's a fit for us. So we do some very strenuous vetting to ensure that we're working with the right companies, that we're a good fit for them and they are a good fit for us as well.
Okay, so you basically say, don't self-select yourself out, call and talk to you.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, simple terms. And Marvy, for those individuals in the Fort Worth area, what would you like them to know, or in Texas generally, or anyone listening to this, as far as people getting a hold of you at Chat and Shoot?
We can reach us through our website. It's chatandhew.org, and all our information is on our website, including our forms. If you know anyone going through going through some domestic issues, give us a call, and we'd be happy to help them.
All right, very good. And on my part, go on. Charles, you're going to say something?
Yeah, so I do have a question for Marvy. Obviously, you're working with, your clients are local in the Fort Worth area, but what about donors? Where the donors have to be from Fort Worth, or can they be from anywhere?
Absolutely not. They can be from anyone. We actually have some clients in the Georgia area, in California, and in Chicago. So, and we do that pretty much online, life coaching, therapy, and some food assistance. You know, Walmart delivers anywhere. So our donors can be, you never know what someone's going through anywhere in this part of the US. So
Okay. Thank you for the additional clarification. And on my part, again, if you're interested in some innovative cash management strategies enabling you to kind of use bank products to dramatically pay less interest without changing your spending, as well as simple strategies. I have a simple saying: small changes bring big results, and just incremental change will dramatically increase both your revenues as well as reducing expenses. And again, regardless of company size. So again, I'm at cashmapapp.com. I want to invite all of our listeners to join us again this time next month. And we'll look forward to getting your input, your questions, and continuing this dialogue. So again, thanks again from Money Talk Viewpoint for taking the time to spend with us this morning in building sustainable organizational growth, regardless of business size. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Marvy.
thanks, Charles.